model world can be roughly divided in two parts: plastic, wood, paper, or any other material. Models are built either to run, sail, or fly, or to gather dust on shelf when finished. Most plastic and paper scale models are just that. The whole fun is assembling them, but all you can do when they are ready is to put them in a glass vitrine.
Plastic scale models are sometimes converted to sailing radio-controlled models. However, as Schreiber-Bogen models are all made of paper, it would seem that they're doomed to stay in cabinets. After all, paper planes don't fly far and paper ships don't sail. Think again. Schreiber-Bogen paper boats float, and the secret is not magic. Even a simple origami boat can float, if not for long. You only need your hands to make an origami boat. A Schreiber-Bogen boat requires a few simple tools. Scissors, glue. It's environmentally friendly with no painting. All the graphics are printed on paper. You can't really compare that with the multi-material, multi-tool factories required for assembling plastic models, or even worse, mixed material fiberglass hull sailing model kits. The challenge lies with turning a paper model into a sailing model, which requires abandoning ecological purity and turning paper into plastic. It simply means that the paper hull needs to be varnished, but doing this efficiently requires the model to be soaked with stinking varnishes. Remember to have your working place well ventilated. Testing, testing, testing. Before starting our waterproofing adventure, it's not a bad idea to make a small paper boat as a test, and then leave it floating in water for a day or two. This works fairly well. There's no sign of moisture, but then again, it's just a boat-shaped box. So now for something more ambitious. Another motor yacht, just 4 times bigger. This model was published for the first time in 1959 and was advertised as a sailing model that can be equipped with electric motor and steering from afar. The original Chris Craft Futura Sports Express Cruiser, a rather lengthy name, was first shown to the public in 1956, so even 3 years later it wasn't perhaps hot off the drawing boards, but it certainly still was, boasting daring design and stylish features never before available. A modeler buying this kit, then called Meister Model or Master's Model, was expected to varnish the finished boat and to equip it with engine, electric lights, and the already mentioned steering from afar. This direct translation of the German expression Fernsteuerung has nothing to do with any kind of radio control. We're not talking about electronics here, but a mechano-pneumatic steering system, and the modeler had to find all the right components himself. It consisted of a small rubber balloon, a gummy finger or rubber finger. Well, supposedly it was to be a finger cut off from a rubber glove, plus rubber bands, bicycle rubber ventals, a steering mechanism built from office clips, and wooden sticks and such. It was supposed to make the boat sail left or right, depending on the pressure exerted by the modeler's hand onto another gummy finger, which in turn was connected to the boat's stern with a 25-meter long thin plastic tube. The whole system functioned, but it was difficult to build and especially to make it work properly. The 2010 edition of this model is nearly identical to the original one, but fortunately for the modelers, the electronic revolution did occur some time ago. The model now features 2-channel digital radio control, a speed controller, standard servo, and a 7.2 volt battery. There's also a lighting system made from Christmas decorations, 10 LEDs plus battery box with a switch. Very useful. The hull is varnished 4 times, twice inside, with the varnish actually poured inside, the hull turned in all directions, and the surplus varnish poured out. The model was also modified, with another layer of paper glued onto the deck to give it graphic wood texture. The railing is steel wire. This is now more a plastic, paper, metal mixed materials boat, but it was all paper in the beginning, with the obvious advantages of card model technology. The hull of the Chris Craft is relatively light, rather big, and has significant displacement. engine, battery, speed controller, and the radio couldn't push it deep enough into water, so some 0.4 kilos of ballast had to be added. I'm using 0.2 kilo lead weights, used by anglers, but thicker varnished paper is still weaker than a thick polystyrene or resin hull, so I add my modular ballast bricks only when installing the battery, just before putting the model into the water, and then I remove both after sailing. The boat sails as well as could be expected of such small hard chine hull. One problem the original model had was quite a steep angle of the propeller shaft, and it has been almost corrected in this model. After sailing for a few hours, another hidden snatch was discovered. Such pleasure boats would look better with a crew, and the snatch was the scale of the model, a rather untypical 1:20. I couldn't remember anything in 1:20, and I was wrong, because indeed there are racing car models in this scale. It took some effort to find an old set of car mechanics figures. The set seemed only slightly younger than the original Schreiber-Bogen model, but the figures were suitably dressed for a summer pleasure cruise, short trousers and t-shirts. Hands, legs and heads were swapped to make them fit the boat, and looking closer at the figures I discovered that, completely by accident, they also seem to represent the type and age of person that is usually associated with the paper model hobby. All men, not too young I'm afraid, one of them actually half bald, 4 Schreiber-Bogen fans sailing a Schreiber-Bogen boat.